Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another interesting episode of Tea Talks Tuesday. I hope you all had a blast with Diwali, full of enjoying and crackers or eco-friendly Diwali, whatever. Everyone would have celebrated a lot. Mm, so coming back to our Tea Talks Tuesday, today we have a very interesting topic and we have a senior doctor over here who's going to discuss about this. And I hope you're going to enjoy this today's session. And over to you, Dr. Janki.
Thank you, Mayuri, and welcome back to Tea Talks Tuesday once again after Deepavali. So today is a very interesting topic and the most common topic and much overlooked and much taken for granted topic, but very important topic. So a senior faculty, Dr. Sridhar Lingam, is going to speak on this hernias today. Let me introduce him to you. Dr. Sridhar Lingam is MS, FMAS, and FAIS and FIAGES, and is currently professor and head Department of Surgery, Apollo Medical College, and a senior consultant, general and laparoscopic surgeon at Apollo Health City, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. He is also visiting consultant doctor at Pratima Hospital, Kachiguda, and he is a general council member from Telangana State Chapter of National Association of Surgeons of India. So we welcome you, sir. First of all, yeah, we are really very grateful to you. We want to express our gratitude and appreciate your time for taking time for us and being here on Tuesday Tea Talks today. So the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you, Janaki. So, as Dr. Janaki was mentioning, hernia is the most common problem, and you may have to answer a lot of queries of the patients even while inquiries or when they come to you for counseling for the diet or anything.
Right.
So, what is hernia? Hernia is abnormal protrusion from a cavity through a wall in which it is contained. It may be a normal opening or abnormal opening. So what we need to develop a hernia is you need to have a cavity and wall of the cavity which is bounded by some cavity which is bounded by any wall, and some content has to protrude through it. So this is the basic in common man's layman's language. Hernia occurs when an internal part of the body pushes through a weak spot in the surrounding muscle or tissue wall. So how common are the hernias? So of all the hernias that occur, 75 to 80% are in the inguinal region, that is groin. We call them groin hernias, inguinal and femoral together. So in inguinal you have oblique hernia and direct hernia, and you have another hernia femoral. They all together constitutes 80% of the hernias. Other 2% are incisional or ventral, that is they occur through the anterior part of the abdominal wall, and 3 to 10% they occur through umbilicus, and 10 to 20% of umbilical hernias are congenital. They are seen in the newborn, most close by themselves by 5 years of age. 1 to 3% are of rare hernias. So coming to what are the various kinds of hernias, as I said already, inguinal hernia inguinal hernias are of two types. That is, one is of oblique hernia and direct inguinal hernia. The other groin hernia is femoral hernia. So in inguinal hernia, so for any hernia to develop, you need some kind of pressure, excessive pressure in that cavity. So for all practical purposes, for the next 20 minutes, what we are going to discuss is about abdominal wall hernias. So you have some rare hernias, so let us not get into that. So inguinal hernia, most common hernia, that is even in females, the inguinal hernia is more common hernia. So overall hernia is more common in males, but even when it occurs in females also, the most common hernia is inguinal hernia. So you can see the location, it is generally there in the groin, medial part of the groin. So the femoral hernia, it occurs in the groin only, but it will be little below the groin region and it ascends above. It is an opening from the hernia develops from the saphenous opening that is in the little below the inguinal ligament. Then it ascends above the inguinal ligament. Generally, direct inguinal hernia is globular in shape, and indirect inguinal hernia is pyriform in shape, and this femoral hernia is retort-shaped hernia. So these three hernias, to develop these three hernias, you need some or the other, the thing that increases the intra-abdominal pressure. That is chronic cough. Chronic cough, if there is a severe cough like patients having chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or bronchial asthma, patient bronchiectasis, these patients will have consistent cough which will continuously increasing the pressure in the abdominal cavity, that will predispose to hernia. And hectic exercise where you stress the abdomen muscles to a little extra what regular people who doesn't who do the regular exercises, if there is a hectic exercises, vigorous exercises also sometimes predisposed to hernia. And difficulty in passing motion as well as difficulty in passing urine also increases intra-abdominal pressure, so they also have the tendency to develop hernia. So coming to the other kind of, these are groin hernias. So coming to the other kind of hernia, it is incisional hernia. So this occurs when tissue pushes through a previous scar or wound. This is commonly seen in females after undergoing cesarean section or tubectomy. You can see this is a little more common in females. So it is scar hernia or incisional hernia, you call it. You can see this in this picture. So the other hernia is umbilical hernia. This comes out through the belly button. So this is commonly seen in children, but it will get closed. Generally, this hernial ring will get closed by the 5th year, but in some patients it persists. So this is called umbilical hernia. So the other hernias are epigastric hernia when it occurs above the umbilicus and just below the xiphysis sternum. This is epigastric hernia. And you have rare hernias like Spigelian hernia when there is a intermuscular hernia where it doesn't come out through the below the skin, but it is within the muscles. So you have some internal hernias like diaphragmatic hernia, but let us not get into all that. So we, for all practical purposes, what we are discussing is abdominal wall hernias. Inguinal hernias or groin hernias, we call it together along with femoral hernia, and incisional hernia and ventral hernia, we call them incisional hernias, epigastric hernia and umbilical hernia. So as already I have told, chronic persistent cough and overweight, and pregnancy where the abdominal cavity is overstretched, and lifting and carrying heavy weights, pushing heavy loads, and straining at the toilets can cause hernia. Generally, how does the patient, that is pathogenesis and different kinds of hernias. So now let us discuss how does they present. So the most common presentation is a swelling. Swelling in the groin or in the anterior part of the abdominal part. So generally it is precipitated by at the time of lifting some heavy weight. So it is also called giving away, burst. The actual meaning of the hernia is burst. So patient will get a feeling that something is being given away. So, so swelling is the most common presentation. It is gradually, initially it will be small in size, but gradually it increases in size. So how do you differentiate it from patient's histories? It will be reducible. So patient will very clearly tell you, sir, it is disappearing on lying down, or I am able to reduce it. And when I cough or I strain or if I walk, it is coming out. That is a characteristic feature of hernia. So with that single finding, you can suspect hernia. Something is coming out and is going back. It is getting reduced into the cavity, and on further coughing, it is coming out. Or any with some exercise or some maneuver which increases the intra-abdominal pressure, it is coming out. So that is hernia. Clinical presentation. So rarely they undergo complications. So generally the content what comes out through this hernia is, you have some terminology, hernia, you call it a sac, what comes out. So there will be a content protrusion into the sac. Commonly in the abdomen, it is either bowel or omentum are the two common things that comes out into the cavity. That is sac through the cavity. So when they come, they many times they will be reducible. So they sometimes they can lot of in chronic hernias there can be additions between the sac and contents, and it may become irreducible. That means it will not go inside. At that time, irreducible hernia, there will be severe dragging pain. So the next level is even an intestine can get obstructed because the intestinal loop can get trapped in the hernial cavity, and patient can present with intestinal obstruction like pain, vomiting, and constipation and severe distension of the abdomen. So untreated obstruction, sometimes if it is worsening, it can produce strangulation where there is a interruption to the blood supply. So that will become strangulated hernia, which will produce severe pain. So this pain is different from irreducible hernia pain, and this will cause vomitings and fever, and there will be local sharp pain. It will become an emergency. Then the bowel becomes gangrenous. There will be imminent perforation. Sometimes patient can develop sepsis and pus in the abdominal cavity. So that is the reason why you want to undergo surgery. So a lot of patients will be telling us, sir, this is there since long time. It is there for the past 7 years. Why should I get it operated? Why are you suggesting operation now? So anytime it can undergo obstruction and strangulation. So they are the worst complications of any hernia. And gradually the mouth of the sac will be stretched, and the repair also will become little difficult for the operating surgeon. So there is a reason why you need to undergo surgery. So you have to tell the patient that why you should undergo surgery is because it can undergo any complication like obstruction and strangulation. Strangulation would be an emergency. You have to operate before there is full peritonitis sets in. Once peritonitis sets in, it will be a patient life will be at very risk, and it will be done on emergency basis. So electively, when the patient is fine, we can do a planned surgery for hernia. So commonly that is the clinical diagnosis. If it's swelling that is coming out on coughing and getting reduced on lying down, or patient is able to reduce it, you should suspect that it is hernia, either abdominal wall hernia or groin hernia. So further, patient commonly comes with, sir, it was there for the past 10 years, but suddenly since yesterday it is not going inside, and I have vomitings and I am feeling a severe pain at the hernial site. So then you should suspect there is some obstruction or there is some imminent strangulation. So immediately you need to refer the patient to the surgeon. So that is a clinical diagnosis. Most of the times hernia diagnosis is clinical diagnosis even when physician examines the patient. Rarely you may need ultrasound or a CT scan, plain CT scan when it is a recurrent hernia, or if hernia which is happening again, or when you cannot make out the facial planes properly, when you have suspicion that the hernia is there or not clinically, you cannot make out, then CT scan and ultrasound are advised. Otherwise, hernia is a clinical diagnosis. So, as already I told, why you should operate hernia is because to prevent the complications and do it in a elective manner, in a planned fashion. You can take the full fitness for the surgery and you can do it in planned manner. Otherwise, if you come in emergency, it will be done under emergency basis without much investigations and fitness, and you may have to cut open the bowel and reanastomose and all that. So to avoid that, when patient is fine, physically fit, his blood pressure is under control, his sugars are under control, then you can take the opinions of cardiologist and you can take the fitness from the anesthetist and you can plan in a elective manner. So commonly what are the operations available for hernia are, you divide them into open hernia and laparoscopic hernia. So now most of the times now we are doing only laparoscopic hernia repair. Still outside commonly done surgery is open hernia repair. So the repair little varies for anterior abdominal wall hernias and groin hernias. So you must have heard commonly doing it with a small cut in the groin for the inguinal hernias and put a mesh. So every hernia has to be repaired with a mesh these days, unless it is a very small defect less than 8 millimeters. We don't advise anatomical repair. That is where you just close the defect. So you need to reinforce all the hernias with mesh, except in children who are the growing age below 12 years. We don't use any mesh because the patient will be the tissue, body, and all that will grow. That is the reason why we don't put mesh. Otherwise, in all the hernias, you need to, nowadays the new concept is you reinforce the hernia with mesh. So coming to the open hernias, you call that as Lichenson's hernioplasty, where you cut open the inguinal canal and you reduce the hernia and you close the defect and you reinforce that hernial wall with mesh. So your various kinds of meshes are available across the market. So one beauty of the laparoscopic hernia is patient can resume back to his duties within 2 days. So previously when we do hernias repair, open hernia repairs for big hernias, patient was advised rest for almost 6 weeks. So nowadays, second day, third day, you can resume back to the work, especially which is more true with the anterior abdominal wall hernias like incisional hernia and umbilical hernia and epigastric hernia. So you also have a robotic hernia repair like laparoscopic surgery. In robotic surgery, the surgeon is seated at console and the operating room and handles with the surgical instrument from the console. This is also becoming very popular for the precision of the surgery. You don't injure the extra tissue and only the part of the where is needed, there will be manipulation and cut. So tissue repair will be in the other tissue which is not involved will be not harmed. That's why robotic hernia is also for the precision, it is becoming more popular, more and more popular. Of course, cost is the limitation. So this is incisional hernia, umbilical hernia, and paraumbilical hernia. Nowadays, we call it intraperitoneal onlay mesh. You enter laparoscopically, you reduce the hernia, you pull out the hernia, and you apply the mesh from inside. So this is a little expensive, but definitely it is a patient has a lot of comfort with this, and early they can resume to the duties early, and they have hardly any pain. From next day onward, they can start doing their regular household work, and within 3 days, 4 days, they can drive a car as well as they can does the office work. So coming back to how you can prevent hernia. Some bodies, some patient bodies are prone to develop hernia. So there is some collagen deficiency or something. So generally flabby, fat, obese patients have the tendency to develop hernia. So you maintain the ideal body weight by eating a healthy diet and regular exercise. Eat enough fruits, vegetables, and whole grains to avoid constipation. Use correct. When you are exercising, you need to take care of the help of the. You take the help of the trainer, and you should do the needed exercise which suits to your body. So avoid lifting very heavy weights beyond your ability. See a doctor when you are all ill with persistent cough or sneezing. Smoking is another. Smoking predisposes to hernia not only through the cough, as a smoker's tendency to develop hernia because of it. Smoking interferes with the collagen metabolism. That is about how you prevent hernia. So after surgery, it is a regular diet what you take, and hernias may recur regardless of repair operations, but generally the recurrence incidence is low when, as nowadays we are definitely using the mesh. In previous days, the mesh was optional. That's why now those patients, they come with recurrence in 5-10 years, but nowadays the recurrence rate has come down after we started using the mesh. So that was a brief discussion about the hernia. You can ask any questions regarding hernia and your doubts.
Thank you, sir. You are talking about a mesh. So does it cause any allergies or anything like that, post-operative allergies? I mean, what is the material? We really don't understand about it. You can throw some light on this.
Yes. Mesh is something not what you see outside, that mesh that is put on the windows and all that to protection from mosquitoes. It is made up of very body-friendly material. Generally, it is polypropylene mesh, proline mesh, and it is made up of very inert material which merges with the body. So commonly, it doesn't produce any kind of allergy, but rarely 0.001% patients, the body rejects that mesh. But nowadays, after a lot of research, now newer meshes, you have even the rejection rate is very low, almost zero. So, but if it is not done under proper hygienic conditions or without some theater sterility and all that, there can be an infection. So, infection is a serious complication which will force the surgeon and both patient to take out the mesh.
Okay.
So
redo is done again, sir, or how? Or if there is an infection?
Generally, you will take out the mesh and you will wait for the wound to heal, then you will take a decision later. That is only the infection, not generally rejection is a very rare thing these days. A lot of meshes have come from. It is a big business from multinational companies. These meshes,
Mhm.
even bovine mesh and animal tissue meshes also have come for to prevent these adhesions. The main problem with this, when you do it for anterior abdominal wall meshes previously, the
Mhm.
intestines will get attached to that.
Okay.
So when you do laparoscopically, so the new generation meshes have come, we call them biomesh, where you use some bovine tissue, cultured bovine tissue with tissue engineering. So nowadays the rejection and adhesion, the problems are very low.
Okay.
And another thing, the myth is the mesh itself will not prevent the hernia. So there it will support the tissue where again tissue grows over the mesh.
Right.
Mesh will get incorporated into the tissue. So it
Okay.
will look like a tough sheath-like thing.
Yeah. The weakness of the muscle will be strengthened.
So if you operate after 4 or 5 years, even sometimes you cannot make out the mesh. You cannot find the mesh. So it
Okay.
will be totally become part of the tissue.
Okay. Since all of us are mainly dietitians, any studies regarding high protein to strengthen the abdominal wall or a collagen supplement or anything like that?
It is other way. So the people who are very obese and with much fat content, they have a tendency to develop hernia because obviously the muscles will be very flabby and weak.
Okay.
So protein, I have not heard, and the protein diet will prevent hernia. It is difficult to
See.
make a statement, but definitely skill and health is some fitness and good diet. Obviously, it will prevent obesity, indirectly prevent hernia.
Yeah, obesity itself gives way to stretching of the body, so
Yes.
probably that will
Yes,
cause
yes.
a hernia.
Doctor, what could be the reason in kids, younger kids,
Kids,
who are like active and who are not obese or like yeah.
There are, we have not discussed in that detail. So the children, the cause is a little different. So we have some congenital openings which will persist like that, through which the hernia happens.
Okay.
So both inguinal hernias, groin hernias, also umbilical hernias, and there is a protrusion of the umbilicus. Generally, it gets closed by 5 years.
Right.
So we don't repair it before 5 years.
Right.
But groin areas, there will be generally testis is developed inside the abdomen. Later, it is it descends into the scrotum. Along with that, there will be a peritoneal fold. In some children, it is patent. After birth, that will get obliterated. It will become cord-like, but in some kids, it will be a patent one. So there will be chance that some intestinal or some abdominal content might descend.
Okay. And doctor, is there any connection between the hernia, the inguinal hernia and the testicular torsion, or both are different totally?
Both are different totally.
Both are different totally.
Both are totally different. Torsion is a different story. Torsion will, the testis, the cord, spermatic cord will rotate on itself for 2.5 times. Like it will be twisted when there is an interruption with the blood supply of the testis.
Right. Okay. So I mean, I have seen like where in hernia was treated, after hernia was treated after like 3 years or 4 years, there was a testicular torsion.
Actually, there is no relation between hernia and torsion. The cause for torsion is commonly a malposition testis, a differently positioned testis. General position, there is a particular position for the testis to be in the scrotum.
Right.
Sometimes there is an antiversion and we call it inversion. So, and a long cord, they all will predispose to torsion.
Okay. Okay.
So it is a totally different subject. Torsion.
Totally different.
It occurs during a lifting of heavy weight or intercourse, and commonly seen in younger individuals, and the pain is very severe.
Yes.
So hernia would be there for quite some time before it creates problem for the patient.
Hmm.
Generally, for long time, for few years, it will be just coming in,
Going.
coming out, going in.
Yes.
That is a characteristic. The characteristic feature of hernia is the swelling is going in or disappearing, and it is coming out on coughing or something is definitely hernia. You should suspect hernia.
Okay.
So anything else?
Any other questions?
We don't
Facebook.
have any questions on Facebook, doctor. So audience, if you have any kind of questions which with regards to hernia, Dr. Sridhar is here. You can please post your questions and get your doubts clarified.
So what are rare hernias, sir?
Rare hernias are spigelian hernia, obturator hernia. These all they occur through. They are rare. They occur through different openings.
Okay.
Maximum hernias occur in the inguinal canal or groin region and anterior abdominal, front of your abdomen. So they are in the lumbar region. We call it lumbar hernia. So they can occur only in the intermuscular planes, and if they occur through obturator canal, we call it obturator hernia. And also have hernias inside the abdomen, diaphragmatic hernias. If something the communication between the chest, abdominal contents can herniate into the chest.
Okay. So that is quite dangerous.
Dangerous, but you don't come across them regularly in your day-to-day life, and you cannot diagnose. When they present in the hospital only, they will be diagnosed.
Yeah, because visible symptoms won't be there, no, sir.
Won't be
Internal.
there. Presentation will be different. Patient will come with some respiratory and vomiting and all that.
Okay.
So they are diagnosed by physician. But hernia is something generally patient come with that complaint that he has a swelling here.
Right.
Commonest presentation of hernia is in your day-to-day surroundings or in your friends, relatives, patients, and all that is. It is there. It is disappearing on laying down, or it used to go inside, but for the past 1 month or 3 days, it is not going in. Is the common presentation.
Okay.
So if it is not going in and it is also associated with pain and vomitings and all that, it should be treated as emergency. You should tell them to consult a surgeon immediately.
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, you have already said, doctor, like we can resume back after our work post laparoscopy. But in general, any heavy activities can be done or cannot be done, like for how long if they have to avoid?
Generally, 6 weeks is the maximum time, optimum time, because the tissue healing and remodeling happens within 6 weeks.
Okay.
So this is a continuous process, collagen laying and
right.
all that. But generally, the first level is at the 6 weeks.
Okay.
So once, and it is not that you cannot walk, you cannot take the steps. These are all myths.
No,
so
no.
You can really avoid lifting 2 buckets of water.
Yeah.
Doing
generally, people will say I'm fine now. No, I'll go to gym and all, or do some household activities. So, what is the ideal time we can recommend?
Household activities and all that they can do from after 48 hours after laparoscopic surgery.
Right.
So, but strenuous exercises and lifting heavy weights and all that have to be restricted for at least 6 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No other questions from audience, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does constipation cause a hernia, sir?
It is one of but it increases the intra-abdominal pressure. No straining at the passing motion. If you strain, obviously there will be increased abdominal pressure.
Okay.
Okay.
The chronic constipation and difficulty in passing urine like strictures and all that also will cause prostatic problem. Also will cause hernia. Predisposed to it.
Okay.
So shall we close? Any?
Yes.
One more doubt I have. Any tight dressing and all, do they cause hernias? Because
No.
it is a constant pressure from outside.
No, it is
Okay.
other way.
Other way around.
The
Okay.
pressure
Inside.
should come inside to outside. But
Okay.
one thing is, a lot of patients, lot of in olden days, even now, there is a clothing called truss.
Okay.
Truss or generally for anterior abdominal, it is abdominal belt. For groin hernias, you call it the truss.
Okay.
So lot of patients unknowingly they use that, but it is not a permanent solution, and you will always miss identifying the complication like obstruction and strangulation.
Strangulation.
Right.
And then that will, if you pull it tightly over that groin, that swelling will temporarily it will go inside. And but as soon as you take out that pressure, it will come out.
Right.
So that is not going to protect anything, but to protect after other surgeries, like where you cut open the abdomen, nowadays we use abdominal belt. So there will be a belt sort of thing, lumbar belt or abdominal belt we call it. You can wear that inside. So that may prevent, there are a lot of studies that it prevents anterior abdominal wall hernias in post-surgery patients.
Okay.
And also physiotherapy will prevent to some extent.
Basically, it is a muscular tone, like after cesarean or after patient coming back after full stretch in the pregnancy, if you are trying to come back to the original shape and size, that obviously it will protect from hernia. If somebody has undergone cesarean section and if they do toning exercise or can come back to the good, can develop good tone and all that, obviously that will protect from developing hernia.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, doctor, we are good to go.
Yeah, good to.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I think I can also connect to some of my other specialist friends if you are really interested, some cardiac sessions.
Sure.
Yes.
And all that. So, madam,
we have November 14th is World Diabetes Day. We are looking for endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist, physician, I can connect you to, but as an endocrinologist, let me see.
Sure, sir.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is quite interesting, and we learned something totally new today. So thank you so much, sir, for taking out your valuable time for us and sparing it here the last 45 minutes with us. And we look forward for some more in the future. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you all. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. So see you all next Tuesday, same time, same place. Bye for today. Bye, everyone.